Up to date on the current political situation. The office of President-elect Barrow wishes to convey the assurance of its highest esteem to ex-President John Dramani Mahama for demonstrating the political will to uphold the verdict of the Ghanaian people after losing the 7th December 2016 polls by handing over executive power to President Nana Akufo-Addo in a peaceful manner within the 30-day transition provided by the Ghanaian Constitution. This is the democratic culture of peaceful transfer of executive power that is being nurtured in the member states of ECOWAS. In contrast, the peaceful transfer of executive power in the Gambia, which held its presidential elections on 4th December 2016, and which should take place when the term of office of the incumbent ends, is still a subject of discussion by Gambians in particular and the international community at large. The office of President-elect Barrow has made it absolutely clear that the exercise of right to file an election petition by the loser does not deprive the winner the right to prepare for inauguration as President of the Republic on 19 January 2017, when the term of the incumbent would have expired. It should be abundantly clear that it is neither in line with law nor common sense for a loser to have the right to abrogate or suspend the right of the victor until an election petition is heard. The right of a victor to be sworn in as president and the duty of an incumbent to leave office when one's term ends are not invalidated by filing an election petition. The office of President-elect Barrow stands by the principle that Adama Barrow's election as President of the Republic of the Gambia stands and is calling on the general public for mobilization in preparation for the inauguration of the President-elect on the 19th of January. The status and outcome of an election petition are unknown and indeterminable before the completion of any court process and should therefore be regarded as a peripheral issue which should not hamper any preparation for the inauguration. The current effort by the loser to use the court case as a tool to mobilize its supporters to give the impression that they have been cheated of victory is contributing to the fear that he is not ready for a peaceful transfer of power. This is why some countries are issuing travel advice and some people are also relocating. The ECOWAS authority, however, has clarified its position so that no one would claim that they are siding with anyone in the Gambia other than the Gambian people whose verdict must be respected. The chairperson of the authority stated, among other things, at the inauguration of President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana, quote, that ECOWAS perhaps faces the most difficult situation in the Gambia. After accepting he lost the election, President Jammeh questioned the results of the election. ECOWAS continuing, he has submitted his grievances to the Supreme Court, which will start its review process on January 3rd, showing very clearly that ECOWAS recognizes that court process is on. And they continued, ECOWAS is closely following the process and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is leading the effort as ECOWAS mediator. We call on the Gambian people to follow the example of Ghana and put the interests of the nation above all personal interests. ECOWAS stands by the people of the Gambia and will exercise every effort to sustain peace and democracy. We stand by the people of the Gambia and want to assure them of our unwavering adherence to the principles of democracy in our entire region. It is very clear what ECOWAS is saying. We are emphasizing, and we want it to be clear, that ECOWAS stands for mediation. Hence, it is important for all of us as Gambians to come to terms with the reality in our own country and to understand that Gambians must not be at each other's throat, but they will be if power is taken and maintained unconstitutionally. Hence, the Office of President-elect Barrow is calling on ECOWAS to speed up the coming of President Buhari to explore peaceful ways of resolving the impasse. It is evident from the visits of the religious, civic, business, traditional, and community leaders, the solidarity messages from the NGOs, the demonstration of political will by Gambian ambassadors, and the general mood of the people in the street that most Gambians want the incumbent to hand over power peacefully. The first duty of the incumbent to prove that he stands for peace is to tell the people that he will leave office when his term expires and would hand over to the elected president when that comes. He should then add that he has filed a petition in court whose outcome and effect would be communicated to the public in due course. This should have been followed by a declaration by security chiefs of readiness to pay obedience to any civil authority that emerges out of the electoral process in the Gambia. Such messages would have gone down well with the Gambian population and the world. The current mobilization for an uncertain court case is sending the wrong signal. The travel advice issued by the U.S. Department of State reads, the U.S. Department of State has warned U.S. citizens against travel to the Gambia because of the potential for civil unrest and violence in the near future. On January 7, 2017, the Department of State ordered the departure of family members and authorized the departure of all employees who need to accompany those individuals from the country. The security situation in the Gambia, it says, remains uncertain following December 1st, 2016 presidential election. On January 10, the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear the current president's petition contesting the election results, which is a potential flashpoint and could lead to civil unrest. The sitting government has begun taking restrictive measures, which include shutting down and restricting radio stations and making politically motivated arrests. The Economic Community of West African States said the same statement, has stated it may intervene if the president does not step down by January 18. U.S. citizens should consider departing on commercial flights and other transportation options now, as airports and ferry terminals may close unexpectedly in the event of unrest. The Office of President-elect Barrow, therefore, is of the view that no Gambian would have the moral authority to claim to love the Gambia by subjecting her people to unrest, while other nationals are safeguarding their own people from unrest. No single Gambian could violate the peace of the country if all Gambians, civil and military, stand for peace. Only the commitment of each to the principle of stand for peace. Only the commitment of each to the principle of one Gambia, one nation, one people could ensure the peace of the country based on democracy and justice. Our citizens have no other home to run to. Gambia is their only homeland. Leaders come and go, but Gambia remains. The road to peace is clear. The incumbent should recognize the right of the president-elect to assume office whenever his term expires, while pursuing his court case as a private matter. He should also prepare all state institutions and agents to acknowledge such a reality by paying due regard to the concerns of the incoming administration. It is already judicial precedence to swear in a president while an election petition is filed challenging the validity of an election. This is what happened in the case of John Dramani Mahama after the December 2012 presidential elections in Ghana. The petition was ultimately dismissed after he was already sworn in as president. Some people have alleged that the incumbent has security concerns. The office of president-elect has demonstrated that any future ex-president would have the same status as ex-president Jawara. Hence, no excuse should be given for derailing the verdict of the people. It wants to assure the Gambian people of its firm allegiance to the Gambia and vows to be ever